Okay, thank you for helping me to take the temperature of that basking spot. Now, here is the spreadsheet that we have been working on. So, what we're looking at right here is bearded dragon number one, the basking spots. Here's today's date. So, go ahead and tell me what was the temperature that you recorded while we were, what did you get? Okay, 104. Okay, 104 degrees. Now, that was in degrees Fahrenheit, correct? Okay, so let me show you. I've created another graph. I want to talk about why this concerns me. So I'm going to go over here to sheet one. Let's back up a second and review what we know about reptiles. Okay, so what are some characteristics of reptiles? What can you think of? Okay, that's correct. They have scales. What else? Yes, they do lay eggs. And what else? Cold-blooded. That is what I want to talk about. What does it mean? What does that mean to be cold-blooded? Exactly. They cannot regulate their own temperature. They are the temperature of their surroundings. So what happens if a reptile gets too cold? Okay, so death would be the worst, but what happens if it just gets a little bit too cold, say 50 degrees or 60 degrees? Right, they can't move. Okay, they can't move. Now, they are okay, well also they can't hunt, they can't eat, they have a hard time digesting. It is very important for them to maintain the correct temperature and to be warm. So if this was a bearded dragon wild in Australia, how would it get warm? Of course, they sit in the sun. The sun warms up their bodies, it warms up the rocks. They regulate their temperature by staying in the sun or going in the shade if they get to be too hot. So this bearded dragon is obviously not in the wild, it's in a tank, it's in a classroom. So it's up to us to create the proper habitat and to create the proper temperatures. So we can't bring in the sun, we have those special lights. Now I replaced the light and we ended up with a temperature of 104, correct? Okay, so what I want to look at, we are going to enter in right here 104, and let's take a look at our graph. Okay, so right here, this 105, this is the ideal low temperature, the low end of the basking temperature, and over here 113 is the high end. So here's our old bulb, we had 100 degrees, we got a new bulb, we got up to 104 degrees. That's still not enough. Okay, I want to be closer to 110 degrees, somewhere in between 105 and 113. So 104 is better than it was, but still not good enough. So this is where you guys need to help me. How can we raise that temperature? What do you think? Okay, yes, we could buy another bulb, but that's not exactly in the budget. So I need you, use your brains. What would make it hotter? Okay, what would make it hotter? Okay. Yes, we want to get closer to the light. Now, you saw in the tank that he has a little bit of display that he could climb on. So what do you think we could do in order to raise him up? Okay, that's a good idea. We could put something underneath it. We could try a variety of things. I would like you guys to figure something out and test it, try it. Let's see if we could find a way to raise his basking spot up so that it is closer to the light. And once we have completed that, I will have you retake the temperature. And we can do this a few times until we get to somewhere where we're happy, somewhere in the range between the low temperature and the high temperature. Ideally, somewhere around 110, because we want this bearded dragon to be healthy. We want him to be happy. Remember, he has a hard time moving. He especially has a hard time digesting. Eating and digesting without the right temperature is almost impossible for these bearded dragons. Okay, so it's up to you guys now. I'm going to have you go off and figure out a way to raise his basking spot so that he can be closer to the light. What happens if he's too close to the light? Don't forget that. Right, we don't want him to get burned. Okay, so thank you for taking that initial temperature and get to work trying to figure out a way to raise his basking spot temperature just a few more degrees. Okay, good luck. Let me know what you get.